The thing that makes life so harsh up here, that's no surprise. It's the cold. When they need food for the communities here, they go out to the land. And that's how the culture stays alive. That's how it keeps from vanishing. Surviving and existing on the land is still a very big part of their culture. Look at this. Look at this. This is just unbelievable.
I'm Les Stroud. I'm in the Arctic on a mission to seek out the true masters of survival, with some of the last indigenous people from around the world.
Before they're gone. Before the past is lost. Before their world vanishes. I can learn their ways.
Located at the top of Baffin Island in Canada's high Arctic is a small Inuit community called Pond Inlet. The tenacity and resilience of the Inuit culture is shaped by the unforgiving Arctic landscape. That may sound like a cliche, but to the people here, there's nothing cliche about it. Barren, cold, and isolated, each year Pond Inlet plunges into near total darkness for months, before slowly emerging into the blinding light of early spring. Can the Inuit culture survive, or will assimilation into the new world wipe out the skills of the past that are still needed to sustain life in this majestic, beautiful, but foreboding landscape? Survival here requires a deep knowledge of the land, the ability to read the snow for signs of life and the skies for approaching storms. I'm here to test my skills on the land, so before there's time to reconsider, I'll leave the tiny village of Pond Inlet and head out to the vast and powerful environment known simply as the Arctic.
I'm in the hamlet of Pond Inlet. This is basically the northern tip of Baffin Island. I've got two Inuit guides that are going to take myself and my cameraman. We've got a couple of 100 miles to go by snow machine, pulling these Comatic sleds to go on a caribou hunt. The Inuit here, it's like going to the grocery store, except it's 150 miles away. And you could get stuck in a blizzard.
The first part of my journey may look like a joyride on snowmobiles, but with incredibly low temperatures and nowhere to stop to take refuge, traveling can be long and arduous. Still, what once took many days by dog sled, pulling heavy sleds with food, fuel, and emergency gear, should now only take us 24 hours of non-stop riding. But the first stop in this vast Arctic grocery store is to get some of the purest fresh water known to man.
This is a perfect blend of the old meeting the new. Come over here and chip off. Piece of ice is thousands of years old. That'll do. The Inuit know that the ice from the icebergs just make the best tea. They drink a lot of tea here. Everywhere else on the planet right now, in most of the moderate temperature world, people have their shirts off and the grass is starting to grow. And here, winter still has its icy grip on the land. It's late April, and it can still be very bitterly cold up here.
My guides swear by eating raw meat is the only way to stay warm internally.
We've got another 12 hours of riding across the ocean and then into these hills in search of caribou. It's a long, long trek, but it's worth it if we come back with a few caribou and a few seal.
caribou. The image itself is utterly romantic, and for thousands of years it meant survival to the Inuit. By now, the stories of caribou disappearing in the Arctic is old news. Industry says there's plenty, so no need to worry, let them dig their mines. But the people of the land say there's much fewer, and traveling to get them is not only a longer process, it's becoming more difficult. And the buzzword of why this is happening is the ubiquitous global warming.
Half of this journey was on the ocean and it was brutal. The other half is here on the land, and it's only going to get harder. It's a long way to go just to get a bit of food.
The Comatic sleds are loaded with our survival gear, and the snowmobiles struggle against the heavy load.
We couldn't make it up. We tried, but the load's just too heavy. So we got stuck there, even with me on the back, give them extra weight. But this Comatic is holding the load, so the other rider will come back. We'll try getting up this hill with 2 machines. It's a long journey in. Gotta push the sled now. Just like getting the car stuck. There we go.
We got it. Hopefully they'll come back for me. Otherwise, this is gonna be a whole new show.
The noise and smell of the snow machine stands in stark contrast to the majestic beauty that surrounds us. But this beautiful landscape offers up challenges even when the sun is shining.
This is not good. Middle of the Arctic and we're broke down. That's life in the north, fixing snowmobiles.
People have been known to have had to walk for a week after their snow machine broke down, and some have perished in the process. Don't let the sunshine fool you. This is a deadly landscape. Beautiful, but deadly.
We're seriously stuck now. I bet this never used to happen when they used dogs. At least we have all the food. But look around. Not much here.
In the turn of an hour, this intensely beautiful landscape in the late winter sun could switch to a brutal storm with gale-force winds where exposed skin can freeze in seconds. It seems as though we're just inching along, getting stuck every half hour or so.
Let's hope this works. Only 50 miles to go.
I'm in Canada's high Arctic on the north end of Baffin Island, traveling by snowmobile on a caribou hunt, some 150 miles into the interior in search of game. It's been many hours of frigid riding and getting snowmobiles unstuck, but we finally pull into an abandoned diamond mine, slowly being destroyed by the harsh Arctic weather. And no one is claiming ownership on it enough to keep it in good shape. But then why bother? The Inuit are only passing through here en route to hunting and fishing grounds. To them, it's just an easy place to stop without setting up tents or building igloos.
All right, well, I'm all suited up, ready to head out into the cold. This is
so totally a moonscape here. It's just an Arctic landscape that is totally indicative of what you would call a barren wasteland, just barren tundra. There's nothing out there, except hopefully some caribou.
It'll be another 5 hours of riding to get closer to where they believe the caribou to be. But we could be setting ourselves up for bitter disappointment. All we're looking for as we ride are the faint and small imprints of tracks in the white snow, or the possible sighting off on some distant hill of the flash of white fur. Yet within 5 hours of riding, we're rewarded with some signs.
You can see that we're close. Those tracks are all pointing in this direction. You can tell when you look at the track itself, the outline of the hoof, and then the dew claws. Shady and Brian have both grabbed their rifles because they figure that we're pretty close since the tracks are so fresh. Shady is taking off. He wants to check out the tracks on his own. He can be faster, probably much quieter. He takes off like that, running along the tops of these hills and scanning them, checking out for caribou. All right, well, I'm just gonna wait here in the wind and see what happens as Shady goes off for the look.
One thing about the Inuit, when they say they're not going far to have a look, it's all relative. They could be gone for miles and hours. My guide has spotted 3 caribou. There's no question the sound of the motors will scare them away, so we have to come up to them with the sun at our backs and downwind. Only my guides are permitted by law to shoot the caribou, so for now, I'm simply along for the ride. If they're successful, I can help out with the cleaning of the game.
Hey! There's one. That's another one down. That's 2. Too far. Okay, I gotta keep going.
The Inuit are not detached from the animals that sustain them. They never hunt for sport, only to feed their families. And it's a conscious choice over going to the village store and buying cow or pig.
Same as with most animals this size, knife into the back of the neck. Miles and miles of this vast, barren landscape, bitter cold, and 3 large game animals to take back to the village, take back home.
All 3 caribou need to be quartered right away to properly look after the meat. This skill of cleaning large game is something learned by Inuit at a very young age. It's simply a part of life.
The same thing as
Same thing that side? Okay.
It's one of those cases when your hands get really cold, you can just put them right in the blood of the animal to warm them up. A trick that hunters would use all the time in cold weather.
I did not. I say that.
Okay, use the fist.
I'd rather not use the knives at all. I'm taking the hide off. They told me to just use my hands. Keeps the animal clean, keeps the hide clean. The meat comes off better. It's also nice and warm. A lot of this fur this time of year is not really right for clothing, so.
What will they use it for instead?
All 4 tarps.
Blanket?
Yeah, 4 blankets or tarps over whatever we caught.
You do have to work kind of fast because in these cold temperatures, the animal can freeze really quickly. Right now it's easy to skin because it's warm. It's always struck me as interesting when it comes to hunting. You know, at first, it's a beautiful animal. It's a pretty animal. For a lot of people, it's a cute and cuddly animal. And that's what it seems like at first. And then it always seems like, oh, it's a shame to kill the animal. For me, it's almost immediate that when an animal is finally dead and you've taken its life, and the minute you start processing it, it's absolutely incredible how quickly it goes from being an animal to being food. It really just, the switch for me is almost immediate. Now I'm looking at meat, tender meats, sections of meat, fat, the hide and what it can do with it all. That's cold on the fingers.
Just follow the ropes.
As far as I have ever experienced, it's an unspoken tradition amongst hunters everywhere that you give yourself energy after the hunt by eating the still warm organs.
Caribou liver's still very good, nice and warm. Good.
Good shit, you.
Yeah, good.
Keep you warm.
Yeah.
Look at that. That was a very successful day. It seems to me, with cultures around the world, if this mark here with my hand represents the tipping point, this side is assimilation, and this side is living the old ways, then various cultures around the world are on either side or sitting right on it. The San Bushmen and the Kalahari seem to be sitting right on the line of the tipping point. What's going to happen next? The Inuit are more over on this side into assimilation. Yet, they're able to maintain their culture through skills like this, hunting on the land. Sure, they use snowmobiles, and they use rifles, and they use stoves with naphtha gas. But once they're out here, they still take a caribou, they eat every part of it, they utilize the hide. It all comes back to the family, it comes back to the friends in the village. But this kind of action, this kind of activity is what's keeping this culture alive.
In what seems like a counterintuitive move, Shady tells me to wash my hands using the lanolin-rich stomach contents of the caribou.
Oh, this is just wash my hands with the contents of the stomach here. Ah, actually smells really clean. I just washed my hands with caribou crap and it smells better than ever before. Feels good? Mm-hmm. That's good, eh? Hands are warm now, soft and warm. Thank you, caribou poop.
In the middle of the northern end of Baffin Island, I've just finished a successful caribou hunt with 2 Inuit guides. The meat has been stored, but there's one small treat that even my guides have not had before.
You gonna eat one?
You gonna eat one?
I can try it.
You can try. Have you had one before?
No.
You not had one before? Wow, come on, Brian. Have you ever eaten one? No. I just washed my hands with caribou crap so you can try a warblefly.
These fly larvae drive the caribou crazy and were a normal part of the Inuit diet years ago. It would seem now, though, that the practice is one piece of the culture that has gone by the wayside.
All 3, you ready? Okay. We try warblefly. Yeah. First time you guys eating this.
Mama.
It tastes like milk. That's disgusting.
This was considered a lucky day for my guides. You can go weeks out here even with a snow machine and still not spot a caribou. And as it is, in 150 miles of snowmobiling, we've only seen 3. But we're lucky to enjoy another easy night in the abandoned camp amongst the left-behind computers and office supplies. Caribou stew will warm us tonight. After our successful caribou hunt, our journey will now take us back to the village of Pond Inlet, so long as our machines can tough out the frozen, hard Arctic landscape.
We're barely into our journey back. We got 24 hours of solid sled riding all the way back to the village, and 2 hours into it, we've got a busted muffler. Ooh, that looks nasty.
That's a brand new. $900.
$900 muffler. $900 muffler? Yep.
Oh, shit.
If you can't do in-the-field repairs like this out here, you're dead. Because there's no way of getting help. There's no service center around the corner. These guys got to be able to fix everything they bring out here, or they're not coming back. We on our way? Looks like we're going.
Unable to make it all the way back in one shot, we've decided to stop at a fish camp that was a few miles up a river. It's here where we can hope to add to the caribou success by bringing home some Arctic char. Once again, we can take advantage of a small hut out in the middle of nowhere. Arctic char this time of year are way up the freshwater rivers, up in the lakes. It's just a matter of constantly getting food as they can when they travel the sea ice. Fishermen come up here and they leave the holes ready to go. Someone does the initial chopping, and then they'll leave them set up so other guys can come here with their nets, drop their nets quickly and efficiently, and hopefully get some char. Surrounding us are thousands of square miles of frozen, empty land. Polar bears roam the hillsides, and the creatures of the ocean will soon be making their way here once the ocean melts. Fishing through the ice is the Inuit way of adapting to this harsh environment. It's a physical example of the tenacity needed to survive here. Well, we found the spot where they already have the hole, so we just gotta chop down. There should only be about 2 feet of new ice covering the previous deep hole.
That's a deep hole. Look at that. 6 feet down, solid ice.
The trick now is finding the second old hole left behind by another Inuit hunter a week or two earlier.
Wrong spot? Oh, you're kidding? Oh, no. All right, well, all that digging and we were in the wrong spot. Start again. The ice in this lake here is 6 feet thick. So where the hole is, it's about 2 feet thick. We can get back through because someone would have been using this maybe a week ago. It's kind of like a city work crew. 2 of us are watching while 1 guy works. Come on, Brian, get your back into it. So Shady's decided that he's pulling the net out because he actually phoned back to Pond Inlet. That's right, he used the phone, so we've got a satellite phone out here and talk about the modern blending with the traditional. Use the satellite phone to call his buddy in Pond, find out, okay, how big of a net did you use? And the guy said, well, I used a 50-yard net. So then Shady went and grabbed his net, 50-yard net, stretch it out, and see where it lands, and then we can figure out where this hole is, so we don't have to keep digging all night. Satellite phone saves the day.
Hours into the evening, hole after hole is chopped, trying to strike the spot where the original hole is. If we miss and keep digging, we'd have to chop through 6 feet of solid ice to hit the water beneath, whereas the old hole itself should have only 2 feet of ice.
All right.
Happy New Year!
Yeah. White needle in a white haystack.
Yeah.
Gonna walk along the ice.
Yeah.
On the bottom side of the ice, just gonna like walk, walk,
Yeah.
walk, walk,
You pull it,
all the way over.
let go,
Pull it, let go, pull it, let go, all the way over to the hole.
Piece of wood with the lever action has got to walk its way across to the other hole, so it's got to be pointed perfectly, lined up, and it grips the ice from underneath and sort of walks. It's like walk, 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 walk until it comes up on the other hole there.
What happens if we miss?
Try it again. You saddle?
Brian's actually bending over and listening on the ice. As it goes, it hits the bottom of the ice, and you can tell where it's going. This first try, I think we might have gone too far to the right. That's pretty wild. You can actually hear it walking along the bottom side of the ice. That kind of sounds kind of spooky. It's pretty funny. You can see there's the moon in the sky. It's getting cold and getting late. Anyway, a couple of tries. We're gonna try it again. See
if we can get this 4-foot board to walk across underneath the ice, land right on the spot of this one little hole. And if he can do that, I'll be impressed. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Right on the center. 7 attempts at it. Right on the money. Right in the center of the hole. That is something to see. Holy mackerel. Okay, we put some rocks on the net. Weigh it down. So I'm just gonna come to the other end here and pull the net through under the ice. Shady will guide it through from the other end. And I'll pull. What do you think? Good?
Good.
Many fish?
I don't know. Last week, not too many, she said.
But I have good luck here. So we'll catch Arctic char. We'll be lucky. Net's finally in there and it's late. We could check it in an hour, but we're gonna leave it, sleep through the night, check in the morning, and hopefully have sushi for breakfast. Arctic char sushi. Arctic char sushimi. Because we don't have any rice. We go to bed?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Let's go to bed.
The beauty of fishing with a net is that it works while you rest. In years past, an entire family would have been hoping for a good catch just to be able to eat.
Let's see about this fish net, see if we've got any Arctic char. Interesting thing about the culture of the Inuit, it really is a culture that subsists, or at least traditionally, subsisted almost entirely on meat. Maybe some berries and roots in the summertime, but otherwise just all meat. And that part of their tradition, that part of their culture hasn't vanished at all. We've got some modern equipment to use, but in the end, still going after the meat that the area provides. Rope's undone, now we find out if we got any fish. Hey! There's one. Oh, he's alive still. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is sweet. That's amazing. We did really well. Got 11 Arctic char just overnight in the net. So for all the effort that was put into it, chipping through the holes, trying to get that thing to line up underneath the ice. Nice. That's a sweet catch. That's good, eh? We eat well today. 3 caribou and lots of char. We're not going to starve. Won't get sushi fresher than that. That's good.
Ironically, in a land that seems like it couldn't be any harsher than it is, our bounty for survival has been good. 3 caribou and 11 Arctic char, but it doesn't stop there for the Inuit. Seal meat is still a mainstay in their diet, and most of the hunters will take nearly 100 or more seals every year for both themselves and their dogs. This time, they want me to make the kill. Well, I missed the seal, but I hit myself.
do not touch it, eh?
No, I was too close to it, yeah. Just when I went to shoot, I leaned in just a bit, and then I hit myself with it. It's okay, I'm fine.
That hurt?
Yeah, that hurt though. It hurt, I'm fine, but it hurt, yeah.
And with that, I've given myself a classic case of scope eye. A goof up that every hunter does at least once in his lifetime. I figured I'd escape that fate until today.
Let's see if we can get this seal out. And that's the way it normally happens. Down goes the seal. You gotta be so full of stealth to get up to these things. Very skittish.
Come back here in about 6 weeks, and the seal are out like pepper sprinkled all around the ice. Right now they're a bit spread out, but we'll get one.
My Inuit guides figure we can have more luck at the flow edge where the frozen ice meets the liquid ocean. It's a fertile area for hunting, but that means that competition will be there. Competition in the form of a 1,500-pound polar bear.
Okay, check this out. We were just scooting along by this iceberg and came upon some incredible polar bear tracks. These are super fresh. How fresh? Well, we probably scared the polar bear. That's about how fresh they are. We likely came around and our sound probably sent him running. It's actually, they look huge. And I'll give you a comparison with my hand here, but they're actually not even that big for a polar bear. They're massive, but they're not as big as they can be. See if I do that, you can see if I put my hand just right in there. So this is actually, I consider this a fairly small bear, even though the width of the track is probably 8 inches across. The reality is there are a lot of polar bears here. Every hunter, everyone who comes out fishing has got to keep their eyes open for polar bears. The polar bears can be very predatory, very, very dangerous animal. Even with us, even with our numbers, well, put it this way, when we go to bed at night, every single place where someone is sleeping, there's got to be a rifle there beside them for the night. So that's how dangerous it is here. Beautiful animal, but a powerful one.
The Inuit don't head out and hunt seal because it's some kind of sport activity. It's not for game, it's not for fun. It's how they've always existed. It's how they continue to exist. They come out to the land, they get the food they need, they take it back home.
Before, the seals were fully exposed outside their small ice holes. Here, it's only their heads that remain a target to a hunter. And yet in the past, this had to be done in a kayak with a harpoon.
This is a lot tougher than it looks. Trying to pick off a little tiny black head in the distance. It's a lot different from trying to hit the side of a large ungulate, like a deer or a moose. The seals come in out of curiosity, just to see what I'm up to, what I'm doing. Even when you hit the water beside them, it doesn't seem to deter them. They'll still come back in out of curiosity to check you out. There he is.
It's really moving, this one.
Had to have got him in time.
But light, wind, and water reflection all play a part in making a shot like this difficult. Add to that a gun sight slightly offset from the rough travel, and the result for me is another miss. We've been successful at getting caribou and Arctic char, but seal is vital to their culture and to keeping healthy meat on the table without buying imported cow or pig at the village grocery store. For Shiedi, my success is important.
Got him.
It was a perfect shot, a clean and quick kill. All right, the boat's too small and the seal's probably too big for both of us to get in the boat and go out and get him, so Shady's gonna head out there to pick the seal up. This is a week's groceries for Shady and his family. Like always, preparing the game takes place immediately. The Inuit culture and the seal are intertwined and always have been, and hopefully, always will be.
Well, it's not like I haven't done this before, but before I do, pass me a piece of liver. A warm seal liver. It's actually, it's fantastic. It's good, eh?
Mamakto.
Mamakto.
Yeah.
And the eyeball. Eyeballs usually saved for the children, eh? Oftentimes.
Oh, yeah.
The children like the eyeballs. I can't hold it, it's too slimy. It's basically just full of really nutritious, really tasty gelatin. And I know it seems really kind of gory and gross, but up here it's a treat. Oh, that's good. The skin of the seal itself becomes essentially the meat sack. All the meat will be put inside this, sort of tied up and taken back to the village, taken back for Shady and his family. You gonna keep this for your family, or you have friends?
Family.
Family. This seal lasts his family about 2, maybe 3 days. And carry on from there and come back out and do it all over again in a short while.
Living in igloos has long since vanished for the Inuit, and even building them while traveling has been replaced by heated tents. But the elders certainly still remember it well. Many of them were even born in igloos. To them, it represented survival in a big way. So the skill lives on and has only really started to wane in the last few years.
So we're gonna head up and look for a good spot to find the right snow for our igloo. We'll stay in tonight. The art of igloo making has not died with the Inuit people. It's still fairly strong and alive, but mostly with a slightly older crowd. And even my guy Cheti, mostly if he can rely on a tent now, he does. But still, hunters get caught out. Still need to know how to do this, how to make an igloo. I expect to survive out here, so. You like this spot?
Yeah.
Snow's right?
Yeah.
Good. Let's get started. So Brian, what did he tell you to cut? How are you cutting?
We're gonna cut this way.
Yeah, just straight down?
No, you got
Slight
an
angle.
Yeah.
And
Just
like-
so when you're
Yeah.
cooking it up, it won't get stuck.
Okay, it's like this
Yeah.
and straight.
Someone once said, you sweat, you die. So as always, the sunshine can be deceiving. The temperatures are still frigid, so staying dry and comfortable is vital to survival.
This is a lot warmer work than it might look like. We're pretty sweaty doing this. They used to use bone saws, and then they went to regular steel saws that we have, and now they switched to the wood saws. Works perfect. The consistency of this snow is a lot like styrofoam. Don't sound very romantic, but that's what works. Everything matters. It's not just cutting little blocks. You have to angle the saw on each of the sides a little bit differently, and you've got to get just the right size and right type of snow. For a 2-man igloo, we need about 40 of these blocks. I'm always the laborer on construction sites. It's not fair.
In Inuit celebrations, they hold igloo making contests. The champion can build a full igloo from start to finish in around 10 minutes, and even climb on top to prove its strength. But it's taking the 3 of us many hours, as we've begun to feel the wear and tear of the long hours and the many miles traveling the Arctic landscape. Like a bee making a honeycomb, Shieti builds the igloo from the inside out and seals himself in.
Hey. Not bad. Yes?
Yes.
You can see there's still all daylight. That's all got to be filled in all the way around, but it's just a beautiful work of engineering. Perfect. Still cold in here, though. That's good. Keep it warm when it's raw?
Mamakto.
Mamakto?
Yeah.
What's mamakto mean?
Tastes good.
Tastes good. Ha, mamakto. Oh, yeah. The seal's fantastic. When was the last time you built an igloo for you to sleep in? How long ago? How many years ago?
Long time. More than 20 years.
More than 20 years ago? Better stay in a tent?
Easy to set up to the tent. That's why. Faster. So.
Yep. All three meats from what we've caught, the Arctic char, the caribou, the seal, it's better eaten raw. Keeps us warmer and tastes fantastic. Shady has worked with me and Brian to set me up in this igloo. And it's pretty cozy, actually. There's no wind in here. It feels warm. And likely, the igloo will probably go the way of being a tourist attraction rather than something that's needed every day during the right season. They still have the skill and can use it in emergencies. But beyond that, at least in my guide's case, he'd much rather stay in a heated wall tent, which is just fine by me. Tonight, I stay in the igloo. Good night.
The Inuit are seemingly alone in their world. Not many people want to live in a place described as harsh and barren. Yet in truth, it's neither harsh nor barren, not when it's a land rich with culture. And this culture has had to endure the assimilation into modern civilization over the last 100 years. Somehow, they've done it and maintained their love for the land and their connection to it and the animals that live there. In spite of the incessant problem of poor nutrition, the result of the imported food brought in by plane and ship, their love for wild meat persists. They're showing that it's not too late for them to embrace or even rediscover their own traditional culture as they continue into modern existence and beyond survival.